With that said, let's get on into it and have some fun talking about finance, insurance, and everything that comes with Social Security and creating your own pension plan. So we'll start with the topic of Social Security because this is always a popular topic. So there's two things that I like to approach when it comes to Social Security or just money and finance in general. First is not the numbers, has to do with common sense. And then second is numbers. Because when it comes to Social Security and the topic of maximizing it, if you were to search this on Google, YouTube, or speak with 3 or 4 different financial planners and advisors, do you think you would hear the same thing from all of them? Probably not. The chances are very likely that you'll get different advice depending on who you speak with. And everyone's situation is different, but when it comes to the numbers, there's different ways to crack this, which we're going to go through that so you can see some numbers here. But common sense is so important. A question we get a lot: what age should I start taking income, Social Security income that is? Because I might be in a situation where I'm 62 years old, and if I start taking income now, I'll get $3,000 per month. But if I wait, I'll get $5,000 per month. So $5,000 is more than $3,000, so I should wait, right? Maybe. I would not just automatically say that. It makes sense to wait unless I need the money right now. So if someone needs the money or could really use it right now, it might make sense to take it right now. And it's very easy to look at numbers very quickly. We can typically do this within 10 to 15 minutes. I'll show you exactly how we did this for someone that sent their Social Security numbers to us, and we just ran the projections. But using common sense, when you're in a situation in life where you know you're going to need that money, well, that could be a good time to start taking that money. Of course, we can look at your numbers. But ask yourself the question, when do you really need it versus when do I want it? Or am I in a situation where I don't need it at all? Which we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's talk about this. How do I get the most money with Social Security? So if you said, okay, I want to maximize every penny I can get from the government when it comes to Social Security payments, how can I approach this? I'll show you exactly how we like to approach it, and it's very simple. So this is based on someone's actual Social Security benefits. He is nearing 60 years old, so he's starting to put together a plan right now. And what do you notice here? Well, we see age, then you see monthly benefit, and you see that multiplied by 12, a yearly amount. So if he starts taking Social Security at 62 years old, he'll get a little bit more than $2,600 per month, which comes out to about $32,000 per year. If he waits until he is 67, let's call it, then he'll get about $3,800 per month, which will give him a yearly benefit of $45,000 and change. See what's going on here? The longer he waits, the higher the dollar amount is. So if I just look at that and make it super simple, if I wait, I get more money. What happens if you wait until you're 70, but you die by the time you're 80? Did it make sense to wait, especially if you're trying to get as much money as possible? You could say yes if you're really good at math and you do that in your head, or we can look at the numbers side by side. Let's do exactly that. And what we'll do for simplicity, let's start with age 62. So what we're looking at here is as follows. So what we just saw, starting at 62 years old, but here's the annual income. So you saw that monthly benefit of about $2,700 came out to $32,000 per year. Annual income. This shows how much you're getting every single year. So when you receive your Social Security statement, you'll see how much you're going to get per month. When we work with someone, they say, here's my statement or my statements. This is what I am projected to receive. Can you walk through this with me and show me what makes the most sense? And then we plan that out with everything else we have going on in our life as well. But starting just with Social Security, this is how much you get per year. Now, if you want to see the total dollar amount, that's where we have this column, total income. What this shows is every year of $32,000 in income, every year you receive that, this is going to tally that up. So over 10 years, if you multiply 31,992 times 10, you get 319 and change. So this represents the total dollar amount that you received from the government in Social Security benefits. Okay. That's if I start at 62 years old. What if I start at 67? Well, I get more money, $45,000 and change per year. However, here's what we need to factor in. If this is me, I'm going to look at this. If I start at 62, I get $32,000 per year right now. And if I consider starting at 67, that's 5 years that I received nothing in the option where I deferred it. Which means at this point in time, I've gotten almost $160,000 from the government with the age 62 option. So I get less per year, but I get out of the gates faster. Make sense? So now I'm getting a higher benefit, but how long does it take to make up for that 160? And by the time I finally make up for that lost time, do I look at my age and say, I don't know if that's worth it? Or do I say, yeah, that's definitely worth it. I'm going to wait until I'm 67. Point is, seeing the numbers can help us here. So what we want to look at here is the total income column, and we'll compare it with both charts. So if we look at 75 years old, if you would have started at 62, by 75, you've received a total of $448,000. If you wait until you're 67 and take $45,000 per year, by the time you're 75, you got a total of 409. Who's the winner? Starting at 62. What about 80 years old? 607 compared to 636. Now who's the winner? Starting at 67. The crossover point here is 78 years old. So this assumes that I just take the money, I live on it, I'm not putting it into an account or anything fancy like that. I'm just seeing how do I get the most money from the IRS or from the government to make it super, super simple. That's 62, that's 67. Let's look at 70. His benefit is what? $56,000 per year. So he's getting a lot more money on a yearly basis. But if we look at 75, let's do the same thing. Who's the winner? Far left, starting at 62, meaning you got the most money here. What about 80? Middle, starting at age 67, is the winner. At what age does starting at 70 overtake everything else? 82 years old. Is that worth it to you? I don't know that I would necessarily do that. Some would. Everyone's situation is different. If I don't need the money all of these years, maybe I'm still working, then it makes sense to defer it. But if I'm looking at this and purely focusing on which one gives me the total dollar amount, 82, I might not still be around if anything happens. If I am, I'm probably not going at the same pace I was moving during my golden years, my 60s and 70s when I initially retire and I have a lot more energy, meaning I'm starting to slow down. The IRS, just like life insurance companies, has very, very good actuaries and also knows when it is likely that I am probably going to kick the bucket. Average mortality is right around age 85. But remember, they do know that when they put these, I'll say charts together, when they put these benefits together, which is nice to be aware of. But when it comes to maximizing Social Security income and simply seeing how do I get the most money total, bottom line, all we do is take how much we're going to get every year and then look at that on a cumulative basis, add it together year by year, and see at what age I have the most money, and then make a decision from there. Now, I shouldn't say make a decision from there because there's a couple more steps. So, let's move on to the next piece. What if I don't need it? So what if you're in a position where you say, I want to take Social Security, but I don't need it for income. I've set myself up with other income sources, like I'm good on that. But because it is still a benefit that I receive, what makes the most sense? Should I take it right now and receive a lower dollar amount? Or do I wait and take a higher amount because if I do want it later, it'd be nice to have that higher payout? Well, a couple things you can do here. One, if you take it now, you could earn a return on it now. You could earn a return on it. So if you wanted to put it into bank account, maybe it's an investment account, maybe it's real estate, whatever it might be, you can put it somewhere that earns a return and it'll compound for you. Another thing you can do, which is the same thing in many ways, is put it into life insurance. This works very, very well for two reasons. One, you do get savings with this. The cash value, this will earn a return. You'll see it grow over time. But then second, you'll also leave a tax-free legacy via the death benefit. So when you look at a life insurance policy, how are the proceeds paid out to beneficiaries? Well, with life insurance policies, every single time, the death benefit proceeds are paid out income tax-free. So if I don't need the money, what I can do is take it and turn it into more money that's going to be paid tax-free to my family when I'm gone. Pretty cool how you can leverage those dollars. Want to see an example? All right. So let's look at the same thing, meaning the same Social Security chart, but what we're going to look at here is, firstly, taking it at age 62. If we don't need it and we're going to put it into life insurance or an account that's going to earn interest, in most cases, it does make sense to start taking it early because I'm getting that extra $160,000 over the first 5 years, like what we talked about earlier, but now I'm going to earn a return on that. So if I put it into a life insurance policy, let's see what it will look like. We'll look at two samples here. So you've got the $32K per year going in. We just round it off here. Annual outlay, cash value, that's your money column. So you paid in $32,000, you've got about $21,000. This particular policy is not set up for maximum cash value. This was a case where we were targeting an initial death benefit of $1 million. So we're starting with a high death benefit, because if he starts taking Social Security at 62, but something happens to him at 65 years old, he's received $128,000, but his family gets $1 million income tax-free, which is pretty nice. So with this setup, the death benefit initially stays level at $1 million, but then eventually begins to increase. And he's got the cash value build up too, so he doesn't feel like he's just dumping money into an insurance product that's 100% cost. It's like, no, if I want to be able to access the money, I can still do that. So if you're in a position where you say, I'm not going to need the money, I want to maximize the legacy that's going to be paid to my children. If I said, okay, let's look at a policy that's like a lifelong term insurance policy, you'll see products like that are referred to as a guaranteed universal life insurance policy. You might see a higher initial death benefit, but next to nothing in cash value. Or you could look at something like this, where you still have that cash value in there, earning a return over time. Would you be more comfortable with that? Where you still have that cash bucket, which, by the way, you can access that tax-free as well. Most likely, in most cases, people are. Now, there's another way you could slice this. Here's another whole life insurance policy. This one, we only pay into it until we're 85. What you'll see here is a low starting death benefit. What's cut off here is more cash value, particularly up front. So if we go back to the high death benefit policy, What was your first year cash value? About $21,000. With this guy, it's the same out of pocket. Look at your upfront cash value, almost $29,000. So you're very cash rich initially, but what's the trade-off here when you look at the two side by side? With the higher death benefit option to the left, you had $1 million right out of the gates. With the option with more in cash value, your starting death benefit was a little bit more than $400,000. But what happens every year as we continue to take that Social Security benefit and pump it into the policy? It increases, and it eventually surpasses what we have to the left. So it is possible to set up a policy this way. A lot of people like this because I do have the same or greater death benefit long term, but I have more cash value too. And the last thing I'll add about this, because this is really nice because I can earn a return on the cash value and leave a death benefit tax-free. But the last thing I want to add here is, what if you said, I don't need to take the money, but then you add a couple more words, right now. I don't need this Social Security income right now. In the future, it might be nice to have that. So what should I do then? Do I start to take income from the policy? I don't know that I would do that because I'd have to do that through withdrawals and loans. What you could do is just stop funding the policy. Maybe it's by the time you're 70. It's very easy to do this. Then just let it grow over time without any out-of-pocket payments. And then you can live on that $32,000 per year or have it supplement your income. My point is, these illustrations assume that you're going to pay into the policy for a very long period of time. In experience, most people don't like to be on the hook to pay a big premium for a long period of time. It's very common to see people say they want to do that as soon as they start a policy, but after they get into it for a couple of years, they say, hey, can I reduce my funding, or do I have the ability to stop early because there's other things that I've learned about and I'd like to do with my money? The answer is absolutely you can do that as long as we set the policy up right, which we will talk about that in a little bit. So that is one strategy that I think is pretty cool on how we can maximize Social Security if we're in a situation where we don't need the money. I would recommend taking it now, especially if I'm going to put it into a life insurance policy. One, because I start to earn a return on that right away. That typically gives me the best bang for my buck. But two, if I'm going to go the life insurance strategy, our health is a concern here. And usually what we see, individuals in their 60s. We work with a lot of people that start policies in their 60s, but as we get up there in age, the likelihood of us having some type of health issue does increase. We've seen that happen a lot over the years. So aside from the fact that the numbers usually look better if we start sooner, even with a lower amount because it's compounding, if we get a health issue, if we have a health issue and then we can't qualify for insurance, this strategy goes out the window, and we either have to put the policy on a family member or look at something else entirely if we don't have family that we can put that policy on. So that's usually why we like to start taking it early. I like it because the numbers look better, but that is actually a real concern there with the health piece. So, information on Social Security. I hope this was helpful. Let's look at some information on creating a pension plan. So, what is a pension plan?